Hello and welcome to Bon AppeGeek, a fun twist on a cooking show where three geeky friends come together to bring our favorite fandoms to life by whipping up tasty dishes in our home kitchen based on and inspired by our favorite games, shows, movies, and more. I'm Rach.
I'm Nora.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are three geeks who play with our food. Hello, welcome to our 6th episode. This one is all about our favorite little red panda filled with rage, Aggretsuko.
Yes, yay.
Well, this one is one that I wanted to do ever since we came up with the idea of doing Bon AppeGeek as a show. I just fell in love with Aggretsuko immediately when I started watching the show. And I just kind of found it at random one day. We were browsing Netflix trying to figure out what to watch, and it looked interesting. And it was right around when the first season came out, and I was just instantly hooked. I was in like a toxic job, and I just could relate, and I was like, yes, rage. So I loved it. So much so that then when the pandemic happened that summer, I injured my foot while grilling, which is its own weird story. And if you buy us a coffee, I will tell you. In the link below. But no, I did that, and so while recuperating from that, I re-binged all of Aggretsuko, all 3 seasons at that point, painted a bunch of pictures of her, like, safe to say I was super obsessed, and they eat a lot of food comes up, so yeah, when I started coming up with this idea, I was like, yeah, we have to do an Aggretsuko episode, so...
And that's when I even heard about it. I've never even heard before. You're like, oh, this is great, would be great for the show. And then I watched one. I think it was right after the new season came out. And I watched it all in 2 days. It was amazing. I love her. And there was so much food to choose from.
There was.
So I obviously found it when you found it. I was mostly amused by it because a lot of what Aggretsuko went through and did and thought and said was basically you.
Yeah, pretty much.
I connected with the show when they brought Anai in because I just hired an Anai. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I really related with that. As far as drinks go, they do drink a lot, but it's usually beer, wine. Haida downs a whole bottle of Jack in one episode.
That's true.
Not about that life.
So I'm a little bit out of the show for my drink. We found this at World Market, I believe. It's the Liquid Rage energy drink. Never drank it, but according to reviews online, it tastes like strawberry and other energy drink stuff. So I went with a...
Melon too, right? Strawberry melon?
The melon I chose for the drink was actually based on season 4 episode where they're drinking a white wine, but it's completely green like a melon.
Okay, all right, I like that. That's clever.
Yeah, so I tried to make a strawberry melon drink that's both mocktail and cocktail. 2 separate drinks, not in the same one because it's
not a mocktail then. Cool. Well, when it came to the food, like Nora already said, it was hard to choose because there's a lot of good-looking food. But one of the episodes that always stuck out to me was the episode in season 2 where Aggretsuko goes on the date with Tadano. He like flies her away. They have this like amazing ramen. I'm a sucker for ramen anyway, so I thought definitely have to do that one. And so for it, it was noted a couple of times in the episode, and I think in the subsequent episodes, that it was a miso ramen. Now, I usually, like when I'm making ramen at home, I usually make a mushroom-based broth, but I basically am obsessed with my own recipes. So I just tried to modify the recipe that I've been making for like ramen knots at home for ages and make it more of a miso ramen. So it's not very traditional at all. It probably... maybe they were eating something really inventive like that. Maybe they were going for the more traditional. It doesn't say. But given just how non-traditional that date was in that episode, like totally swept off her feet, I thought the non-traditional ramen was the way to go.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to ramen. I love ramen. For the main dish, we went with something we saw very first episode while she was tucked into her little karaoke booth. It was fried chicken and fries. So we are going to do
KFC and McDonald's.
Yes.
No, we're not doing
Yes.
KFC and McDonald's. We're doing White Castle and Indies.
Oh boy.
Oh, no.
No. We're actually going to do Japanese fried chicken, just double fried, and we're going to do a spin on some frozen fries and turn it into some furikake fries. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be super tasty. I'm excited for all the dishes. I think let's get to it. Let's start cooking.
Sounds great.
I don't know why I wait. It's the intro. Hey guys, we are going to get started with our first course of our meal for Aggretsuko. We are going to make a miso ramen worthy of a dream date. We're going to top it off with some hot honey glazed tofu. So this recipe is done in a couple of different steps. So I'm going to walk you through all of our ingredients for the ramen, and then we're going to get started with our hot honey glazed tofu. So what you're going to need is about 3 tablespoons of sesame oil. I think the sesame oil really brings a unique flavor to the ramen, so please don't skimp out and just use regular cooking oil. If you can find it, get the sesame oil. We're going to use about 1 cup of shredded carrots. We're also going to have about a pinch or so more that we're going to add on as garnish when our ramen's done. We'll use 2 cups thinly sliced mushrooms. These are shiitake mushrooms. That's what I recommend for this recipe. You can use mixed mushrooms or white mushrooms, whatever you can find, but I think shiitake works really well with the flavors here. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, so we're just using this stuff straight out of the jar, but if you've got a bulb of garlic and you want to use fresh cloves, by all means go for it. We're going to use 6 cups of miso broth. It's really important to get the miso broth or you won't have a miso ramen. It brings its own creaminess and its own flavor, and it's really hard to substitute out with anything else. This looks kind of nice and fancy, but I just picked this up at the regular local grocery store, so you shouldn't have a hard time finding it, and it really is essential to the recipe. We're also going to use some soy sauce, about 3 to 4 tablespoons. That's a range just based on taste. Soy's got its own flavor and it's got its own saltiness, so just kind of see what you like there. We're going to use some sriracha. Now this is really taste-based. I like to use a lot. I like spicy stuff, so I put about 2 tablespoons in mine. If you are not a fan of spicy stuff, I do think you need to put a little bit in here just for the flavor. Sriracha, if you haven't had it, it's not one of those hot sauces that's just like heat and no flavor. It's got a really unique flavor of its own. So if you don't want it spicy in the least, I recommend put a 1/4 teaspoon in. It'll give you that flavor without the mouth burn. We're going to use a few packages of ramen. Now, if you see here, I'm just using that cheap old 1/4, 30 cent, whatever it is, ramen that you get at the grocery store. We're going to take the flavor packet out and throw it away or save it to use on something else. But the noodles are just as good as those noodles that come in a fancy box that they sell for $4. So 2 to 3 packages of those, depending on whether you like your ramen more brothy or more noodly. I like noodles a lot, so we're going to use 3 packages today. You're also going to use some sort of green. I recommend Napa cabbage or bok choy. You can use other stuff. I know I've made this a couple of times where I've used kale or spinach, and that's good too. But some sort of green, kind of roughly chop it up. Then we're going to use a jalapeno. We're going to thinly slice that and use it as one of our toppings. We're going to use some green onions that we'll slice thinly for another topping. We'll just use the green parts of that. And we'll top things off with some sesame seed. And we're also going to use I like to use this measurement, a thumb of grated ginger. So about this much I'll break off and grate into the soup. So that's the walkthrough of what we're going to use in this main soup, but we're going to get started with our hot honey tofu at this point. So for that, we've got extra firm tofu. It's really important to get extra firm. If you get medium firm, it may not work out so well. If you get silken, it's really going to go and just make a huge mess. So we're going to take our tofu and get it out of the package. Now, I'm never good at actually opening these, so I'm just going to cut it open. And we're going to put it in a tofu press. And what that does is get out all of this excess liquid so our tofu holds up when we want to cook it. It also gives it a better texture, in my opinion. So, going to use our tofu press here. Now, if you don't have a tofu press, I didn't for a very long time. Anytime I made tofu, I would just I would wrap my tofu in paper towels and then put a skillet over top of it and something heavy. That works too. It won't look as pretty when it's done because it'll kind of squish it a little bit, but it gets the job done. So all we're going to do is take our tofu, put it in the tofu press, put the top on, and clamp it down. And we're going to leave that to set for about an hour. While that's going on, we're going to get started on another of our garnishes, our soft-boiled eggs. So I've got about 3 eggs here because there's 3 of us here at Bone AppeGeek, and I want each 1 egg per ramen. This is really simple, so all you're going to do is put these in a pot of simmering boiling water, set a timer for about 4 minutes, and then take them off the heat and put them under cold water. You really want to set that timer if you want that gooey, soft-boiled egg that we're all used to having with our ramen. If you don't, you can really quickly and really easily overcook these and make them be hard-boiled eggs, which are fun, but not what we're going for. So while we're cooking our eggs and our tofu's pressing, we'll get started on the broth. I'll see you over at the stove.
In a large Dutch oven or soup pot, heat the oil on medium heat. Add in your carrots and mushrooms and cook for about 3 to 4 minutes until they're tender. Now toss in the garlic, ginger, and sesame oil and cook for another 1 to 2 minutes until they're fragrant. You'll add in your broth, soy sauce, and sriracha next and bring up to a slow simmer. Taste the broth and add more soy sauce or sriracha if you want. Stir in the cabbage or bok choy and bring up to a simmer. Simmer for 5 to 10 minutes until your greens soften. Then add the dried ramen and cook for another 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, while our ramen is simmering, we're going to work on the hot honey tofu portion of this. So we're going to take our tofu out of the tofu press and slice it up. Being careful, there'll always be water in the bottom of that. Usually I splash it all over myself. So we'll take that out. You can see it's kind of condensed down some now. And we're just going to slice it into little strips that we're going to use to top our ramen. We'll slice a few of those up. Really whatever thickness you like. I like to do about like a finger's width thickness. I think that gives you enough to get a good tofu-y bite, but it's not so much that it takes up your whole bowl. Okay, and once we've got that sliced, that's all we need to worry about with the tofu for now. Then we're going to make our hot honey glaze. So honey glazed tofu is pretty common, but I thought, how can we represent the rage of Aggretsuko? So we went with hot honey, giving it a little spicy kick. So we're going to take 3 tablespoons of hot honey, and when I say hot honey, I'm using this. It's called Mike's Hot Honey. You can get it at Whole Foods, Amazon. Some of your grocery stores will sell it. It's good stuff. If you don't have this, you can't find it, you don't want to order it, you could use honey with like some red pepper flakes mixed in to kind of give you the same effect. But this is really good stuff, so I do recommend it if you can find it. We're not sponsored by them. I just genuinely like it. And then we're going to take a couple of tablespoons of soy sauce. I've got 2 tablespoons in here. If you want it to have a saltier, like less sweet flavor, you can add a third and it really won't mess up the ability of the glaze to form into a glaze. So I'm just going to dump that into my honey and use a fork or a whisk to just kind of mix that together. We're going to, when we get over to the stove, add it to the pan that we're frying the tofu in, so it'll just kind of glaze on that way. And then the last thing that we're going to need before we move over to the stove and finish this up is what we keep seeing over and over in this meal is our sesame oil. We're going to put a tablespoon of it in the pan before we start frying our tofu. So let's move over to the stove and finish this up. Alright, so that's it. We were ready to plate, or rather bowl, our ramen and taste it. So what I like to do, since we have put our broth and noodles together to cook together, I think that's an important step. It gives it a really good flavor. But it can be hard to make sure you get the right amount of noodles, so I like to use one of these pasta spoons and just kind of dig in and get a big old scoop of noodles first. And then I'll take my ladle and add broth and veggies and mushrooms on top. Sometimes a little more noodles. And maybe one more scoop of broth and veggies. Oops, getting a lot of noodles in there. Okay, take that noodle, put it back where it goes. Then we're going to top our ramen off. So we've got a whole bunch of toppings here that we can use. And, oops, big scoop. The first thing we're going to do is top with our hot honey tofu. So we're just going to take with our tongs 1 or 2 slices and just kind of place them over to the side here. You can rest them on top of a mushroom or some noodles just so they don't completely sink down. Then we're going to add a little cilantro, just kind of roughly chopped. You don't have to add this. I know some people, cilantro is very gross too. Your soup will be fine without it if you don't like it. The cut ends of green onions, the green part. A couple of pinches of shredded carrots. Some sliced jalapeno, however much you like. If you like it spicy like I do, add 3 or 4 slices. If you don't like a lot of spice, maybe you don't want to add any. And then we're going to top off with our gooey egg. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to very carefully hold it in my hand and use my knife, kind of go back and forth. And then I'm going to keep this top half on the knife as I place the other half in. And then I'm going to flip it straight into the soup. That way I don't lose any of my gooey, eggy, yolky goodness to the counter or anywhere else. And then just going to top off with some sesame seeds, a little extra flair I like to add in. And then because I like things nice and spicy, a couple of extra drops of sriracha. Then we just add our chopsticks and it's plated and ready to eat. Now we're ready to taste.
I am so excited. And look at the chopsticks.
I love them. I
They're
love
very
them.
cute. Oh, this looks amazing.
I'm very excited. Let's dig in. Bon AppeGeek.
Bon AppeGeek.
This is my first time slurping noodles on a camera, so this will be...
I'm just going to try to pick up the egg. I can't get it. I can't get it. Alright. Use the spoon, Luke. Oh, I want to take a bath in that. That's delicious.
Do not try taking a bath
take a
in ramen broth at home. We are not responsible for whatever it might do to your skin.
Hi, and welcome to the cocktail portion of the show where we're going to make some liquid rage. What we're going to do for that is use some gin, some Midori melon, which is our honeydew flavor from earlier. Our gin is the juniper flavor. We got some muddled strawberries here, and then ice and seltzer. It's really simple. The less ingredients, the better. So you're going to pour about a shot of gin, a shot of Midori, and shake on ice. Add your strawberries, mash those up just a little bit. If you don't have a muddler like this, a wooden spoon works, or a regular spoon, or anything really that can smash. So if you have a Hulk sitting around, that works too. So you add ice. Pour your rage liquid in. Top off the seltzer so you can feel fancy. It also helps cut the sweetness. Stir. Just mix that seltzer in. And that's it. Bon AppeGeek.
Hello, and we are back. I am going to be making some Japanese fried chicken, karaage chicken. And here's what you need. We're going to start out with marinating the chicken. So I've got chicken thighs here, and they try to get boneless chicken thighs. It's just easier to cut. If you don't, I tried it with both. And you're going to get big pieces and teeny tiny little pieces. They don't really cook evenly. So boneless chicken thighs. These are 5 that I've just kind of cut in half. And for the marinade, we're going to need, I'm going to make it now. Let's see, we're going to start with some Kewpie mayonnaise. This, sometimes you can find it at the grocery store or Amazon or your local Asian market is where I found it. But we're going to need 2 tablespoons. And I'm just going to dump everything into a bowl. Next is the sake. 2 tablespoons of that. 2 tablespoons of sesame oil. 2 tablespoons of garlic. I know, it's not very original. But, so everything is even in there. Ginger. I bet you can't guess how much. 1 tablespoon. No, I'm just joking. It is 2 tablespoons of ginger. You can use freshly grated. This is just, save yourself. We're all stressed out. Make it easy on yourself. And what else? I think that's it. No? Soy sauce, which I have forgotten. Oh, here it is. Just kidding. Just kidding. You're doing great. 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And finally, a good pinch of salt and pepper. About a teaspoon, if you want to measure it. Definitely measure salt and pepper. And that's it. Going to give that a good mix. And I don't know if I said, with the chicken thighs, you want to cut them in half, or if they're real big, cut them in thirds. Just want some big old chunks. And dump that straight into the bag. You can use a bowl for this, whatever. I like using a bag just because it's less messy. As I'm dumping it everywhere. Get it all in there. Close it up. Now this is not the time to take out your rage. No, not on this chicken. We're going to gently massage it in. Everything. Make sure everything gets nice and coated. That's it. We're going to put this in the fridge for about an hour and a half. Just let it sit and melt together. Then we are going to dredge it. We're going to use 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a half a cup of cornstarch, which I already have here, and 2 eggs. And then when we're ready for that, I will show you how to do that. And then we're on to frying. We're going to need 5 cups of vegetable or canola oil. You really can't use an olive oil or a grape seed oil. Is that a thing? I think it is. Those have a very low heat point, so it'll smoke and be gross. So you want canola or vegetable. And I think that's it. So I'm going to pop this in the fridge and meet you back here to dredge in about an hour. Hello friends, we are back. Our chicken has been marinating. Man, it feels like this has been in the fridge for like 2 weeks. It's been that long. So here we are. We're going to dredge. Now I like to do a double dredge. So you take your chicken. I've got 2 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of cornstarch, a teaspoon each of salt and pepper, and then 2 eggs. You can use your hands. I usually do, but I'm going to use this just to be safe today. So we just dip it in to our flour mixture. Get it coated, but not like full, like just like that. You can still see the chicken. Very important to get rid of any excess. And then we dip it in the egg. Mix it around. Again, it's gonna look gross, guys. It is what it is. Back in your flour. Toss it around a couple times. Shake it. And that's it. I'm just gonna do a couple more for you to show you. And I'll do the rest. You guys don't want to see me dipping raw chicken for an hour. Flour, shake it off, egg, and back in our flour. It's going to be messy. When we're done with this, we're going to take it over to the stove. We've got 5 cups of vegetable oil brought up to 350 degrees. We're going to give it a double fry. So let me just show you one more. Flour, shake, egg, And back in the flour. Shake, and that's it. I'm going to keep doing this, dredging all of my chicken, and I will meet you at the stove to get it fried up.
Okay, for our first fry, we're going to heat up about 5 cups of vegetable oil in a Dutch oven. You want to get it to about 350 degrees. Gently place 4 to 5 pieces of chicken in the pot. Fry this for about 3 to 4 minutes until the chicken starts to get golden brown. Remove and continue to fry the chicken in batches until they have all been fried. Place the chicken on a wire rack with paper towels below. Turn off the heat and let the chicken rest for about 10 minutes. For our second fry, we're going to heat the oil to 375, working in batches again. Flash fry the chicken for 2 minutes until a deep golden brown. Remove and place back on the rack to cool.
Alright, so I'm going to jump in here and show you guys how to make a quick and easy furikake fries. So what we're going to do is start out with a bag of just frozen French fries. These fries are traditionally on the skinnier side, so we got shoestring, but any kind really works. So we're just going to dump these out on a baking sheet. And we'll spread them around into kind of an even layer or as close to it as we can get. Give them a light drizzle of oil. The drizzle of oil is really just to help our seasoning stick to them. And so now we're going to make a seasoning that we're going to kind of sprinkle on and toss around on our fries. So the first thing that we need for that, we have 2 sheets of nori, sushi nori, and we have ground this up in our coffee grinder. It also works in a food processor, but the coffee grinder will get you a nice fine grind. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic granules to that. You can also use garlic powder if you don't have garlic granules. Going to add 1 tablespoon of red pepper flakes. You can add a little bit more if you like things a little spicier. You can cut it down a little bit if you don't like that much spice. And then we're going to add in 4 tablespoons of tuxedo sesame seeds. If you can't find tuxedo, you can use regular sesame seeds, but we just really love the way tuxedo looks. So we're just going to combine those all together in one bowl, stir them up so we get a good even mix. And then we're going to dump them on top of these fries. You can see it's kind of coming together in one mix here where you can see bits of red pepper flake, you can see bits of sesame seed, the green of the nori. And so once it's starting to look like it's well mixed and you don't have big clumps of just one of the items sitting all by itself, then we'll just start to kind of sprinkle this over top of our fries. Now where we've poured that oil on, that'll help the seasoning stick. And then we can just kind of take a fork or our hands and just kind of toss it around all over all the fries just to make sure there's nobody in here that is just a boring, plain old fry. We want to get that good seasoning mix on all of it. Now once we've got these nice and coated, we will pop these either in an oven or an air fryer, and you'll just do that based on whatever's on your package directions for your frozen fries. While those are baking or air frying, we'll put together a quick little dipping sauce. This is a good sticky sauce. And so for it, we're going to start with 2 tablespoons of honey. We're going to add in 1 tablespoon of fish sauce and 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. And then we'll just stir that together with a fork or a whisk until it gets all nice and homogeneous and incorporated. And we'll try not to dump all the fish sauce out on the counter like I just did. And once you get it all stirred up to where it's nice and homogeneous, you are ready to eat your fries with this as soon as it comes out of the oven. So you can just set this aside until your fries are ready. So that's it for me and the fries. I'll be back to eat them when they're done.
All right, we are back, and it is time to taste the chicken.
It smells so good. I can't wait.
That color, and you can just see, just taking it out, how crunchy it's going to be. And the fries, they smell great too, and they look. Let's just stop talking and let's just dig in. Oh, before, we did make a little dipping sauce. We used just a little bit of the Kewpie mayonnaise, some lemon juice, and some sriracha. Just throw it in a bowl and mix it up.
It really accentuates all the flavors in the chicken. And then we've got our dipping sauce that we made for our fries. That's traditional. Traditionally, that's tossed on the fries. Since we did a quick and easy version, we're going to dip in it. But if you don't like the taste of that, they also taste really good in the chicken dipping sauce.
Or both. Just mix them up. All right, let's do it.
Bon AppeGeek.
Bon AppeGeek. Look at that.
Oh yeah, right in there.
I know. Oh, a lot of dipping sauce.
Chicken is so juicy and flavorful, and it's wonderful.
I'm gonna put it down and get a little bit.
It's gonna grab and fry, finger food style. A little bit of our traditional sauce.
Oh my goodness. All right, we're going to cut so we can just eat all of this.
Yeah, we're just going to eat all of the rest of it.
You guys should try it too.
Hi, and welcome to the mocktail portion of the show. I'm going to be making the same drink, for both the mocktail and cocktail today. It's Liquid Rage! So we're going with a strawberry honeydew theme for both of these. Because I'm putting gin in the cocktail, I'm going to be using juniper berries for the mocktail. So what we need for this is about 3.5 ounces of strawberries, need a half tablespoon of juniper berry, need a quarter honeydew melon, and about a half cup of whatever mixture you want. I'm going with Sprite for this to give a nice lemon lime sweetness. But if you don't like super sweet drinks, then mix in seltzer or just plain water even. So I went ahead and chopped all my melons, strawberries, and ground the juniper berries. I bought these whole from Pinsy's Spices, but I used a coffee grinder to reduce it to this nice little powder here. So all you gotta do is mix it all in to your blender. And I'm not standing up because then I'd be out of shot because I'm too tall for the camera apparently. Reserving a strawberry for garnish. So you just blend that to whatever consistency you want. Or garnish and rage at the geek.
Okay, now we're going to get started on our favorite segment of the show, the segment where we get to make and then eat dessert. So today we are making baked cheese tarts. We see these in the most recent season of Aggretsuko. We won't give you too much of a spoiler if you haven't caught up yet. But these are sweet treats that are famous in Hokkaido. And we're going to try to make some here today. So we are going to just jump right in with our crust. That's the first step. Doesn't do us any good to have a filling if we have no crust to put it in.
Well, then it'd be pudding. That'd be okay.
Yeah, I'd eat this as a pudding, honestly. So what you're going to do is you're going to start out with your mixer with the paddle attachment. As always, if you don't have a stand mixer with a paddle attachment, you can make it work with a hand mixer. It's just going to be a little harder on you.
Yeah, it's okay. You're going to get arm workout.
Yeah. Then you don't have to go to the gym. Or you can say, hey, I exercised today if you're like me and you don't go to the gym anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. So what we're going to do is just get started mixing things together. So we're going to start out with 1/2 cup, that's 1 stick of unsalted butter. We've gotten ours up to room temperature. You can see it's a little sticky now. It just makes it easier to mix in. Then we're going to add in a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar once our butter is nice and soft and creamy in there, but you want to do that first.
All right, so I'm going to just mix it. All right, that looks a little fluffy. I'm just going to get all on the sides. Just going to get it all down in the middle. All right, what's next?
So next is that 1/4 cup of sugar. So we're going to just pop that in and we're going to beat that a minute or two till it gets all nice and light and fluffy together.
All right, that didn't take very long.
So now we are going to add an egg that we've already beaten. So it's just kind of sliming around in our bowl together.
Woo! This is nice. I'm just trying to get. You want to make sure that you scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl. All the good stuff likes to stick there. And the egg.
Now we're just going to mix that together just until it's incorporated.
That should do it.
Alright, so our last step is to add our flour and our salt. We have 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour here, and we've already mixed our salt in with our flour just to save some space. We have 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt.
And don't skip out on the salt. I know it sounds weird to add it to desserts, but it's very important.
It's very important. It somehow accentuates the sweetness and never overpowers it. It's just very important.
Here we go. Careful when you do this. You want to wear the flour. Or what I like to do is get it all over the paddle and the machine.
I usually end up getting it in my face. Like,
very good. Yep. And this is just barely mixing.
Just barely mixing, yeah. We don't want to toughen up our dough, so just until it starts to come together into a ball.
All right. Start out real slow.
Yeah, that's coming together.
All right. Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. All right. See, there's some big chunks in there, and it will hold its shape on its own. That's when it's ready to go.
Yeah, and you can really finish it off with just getting in there with your hands and pressing it together. Sometimes with a mixer, just depending on the shape of your mixer, your bowl, all that, it'll stay in that clumpy stage and not come together into a big old ball. But you can just finish it off with your hands.
All right, are we going to take this out now?
Yeah, so at this point we need to cool our dough in the fridge. If you watched our Final Fantasy episode, you remember us telling you that it's really important with anything with butter in it that you want to be crusty or cookie-like to get it chilled again before you go and bake it.
All right, so we're going to do that for about 30 minutes?
30 minutes, yeah.
All right, see you back.
Okay, so we have pulled our dough out of the fridge. We let it rest for about an hour. And we have divided it out into 8 parts. And once you do that, we left one of them. We've already flattened several out. We're just going to flatten it out into a little disc. Or as you can see, mine are a little bit blobby. They're not very good discs. But we're just going to flatten it out. And then we're going to stick it in our muffin tin, which we've already greased. So we're just going to, each one of these is going to be its own little cup in the muffin tin.
That we've already, oh yeah, you've already said greased.
Yeah, we greased it with, we just use pan baking spray, but you can use butter and flour, whatever you like to use.
I'm going to go ahead and get started. You want to make sure that you press all the way down and smooth out against the edges.
This is a little bit of a crumbly dough, so that's why it's important to make sure you're pressing down. It will crack as you're trying to put it in, and that's okay. You can fix that.
Smooth it over.
And
you
if you've got
fast.
long nails like me, I like to use just a spoon to press it in.
Yeah, it just kind of tears. You smush it together. It'll all be fine. Cue that everything is fine, dog.
This is fine.
Oops. Keep sliding it.
If yours tears like mine just did in the bottom, I've got some excess here, so I'm just going to use the back of my spoon to just cut that away and press that down and fill in those gaps. This dough is really forgiving. It will reassemble if you tear it, even if you tear a big old hole like I just did.
And it'll still pop right out at the end, so don't worry about it. Just really get in there, press it in.
But do make sure you used your pan spray or otherwise grease the pan, and if you didn't, then I can't guarantee that it'll pop right out.
Good luck to you. You need to move fast or things start to go wrong.
They
It's
definitely
fine.
start to crumble the longer they've been rolled and pressed out. I have also made this where I've rolled the dough and cut the discs out. That works too, but honestly it's a lot more work and doesn't really look any better, so.
Yeah, they're not going to be pretty. I mean, they're not, we're not even related
They're
at this point.
They're rustic. They're rustic.
They're little snowflakes. Everyone is different.
And then if you've got a lot of overage like I do on this one, you can just trim that away just to make it look a little neater. Or you can try to make it stand up all artfully. I've successfully done that once or twice, and only once or twice. But once we have these ready, then we need to cool them again. So we're going to cover them up with some plastic wrap. We're going to stick them in the freezer for about 15 minutes. And then once they are out of the freezer, we're just going to poke little holes in the bottom. I like to use a fork for that. And then we're going to stick them in the oven. The oven part is a little curious. You start out at 400 degrees, preheated to 400 degrees for 5 minutes. And then you turn your heat down to 350 and you finish baking 12 to 15 minutes.
Yes, that's important. Don't forget. Stand in front of your oven for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Turn it
Don't
down.
forget, or you will overbake these and they'll
Yeah.
be...
It'll be a sad time, but it'll be okay. Just 5 minutes, turn it down, 12 minutes, we're good.
But first, freezer, 15 minutes.
Freezer.
All right, we'll see you in just a bit to work on the filling.
Okay, we are back. We are back with our dessert. We're on to the cream cheese filling part.
Or as I like to call it, the gooey goodness.
Gooey goodness. Hashtag gooey goodness. Okay, here is what you're going to need. Start out with some cream cheese. This is 8 ounces. It's been set out for 4 or 5 hours at room temperature. Also, we have our butter. That is 2 1/3 tablespoons, also room temperature. We have lemon juice. We need 2 tablespoons of that, plus the zest of a lemon. Yogurt, plain yogurt, not vanilla or Greek yogurt. I guess you could use Greek yogurt, but this says plain. So it's 5 ounces of plain yogurt. What is this? Sugar. Granulated sugar, 1/4 cup. And also vanilla. We have a little bit of vanilla. Half a teaspoon of vanilla. No, the words are real small. And cornstarch. 1 1/3 tablespoons of cornstarch. 1 egg. And our special ingredient, the dried butterfly pea flour. Sorry.
That's okay. We're going to use about 10 grams of our butterfly pea flour. If you watched our Critical Role episode, you saw us use this same ingredient in the mocktail. That's what gave it the fun color change effect. So if you haven't seen that one, or you don't remember what butterfly pea flour is,
Whoa. If you haven't seen that one, stop, go watch that one, come back.
it is a really good one.
It
And
really
there's
is.
good food. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, go see that. And then you can skip this section of me telling you what butterfly pea flour is. But it's a tea, and it comes in these dried little flowers. If you eat them just like this, it's edible. You can do that. Kind of feels like a freeze-dried strawberry in your mouth. These don't have a very strong flavor at all, to the point that if you don't include a ton of them, you don't really get much of a flavor. So our tarts will have a very lemony flavor. But what's cool about this, and that you'll notice when you do go back and watch that Critical Role episode, is they make things change color if they come in contact with any kind of like food acid. So we're using lemon juice and lemon here, and that's going to have a color change effect in our tarts. So we're using a lot of butterfly pea flour. So that's not going to change fully to pink like we saw it do in the mocktail in the last episode, but it's going to change into a purpley color. So you're going to have a little bit of pink and a little bit of blue. It's going to look really cool. So what I like to do is take these flours, I'll measure out 10 grams of the flours on a kitchen scale, and then I'll use a coffee grinder or a little mini food processor, or if you're old school and want to do it hardcore, a mortar and pestle, and just grind it up. To like the consistency of like any of those spices you'd buy, ground spices. It doesn't have to be a complete powder, but you want it fine so there's not big clumps of flour in the tart.
You don't want to add any texture.
No.
All right. Let's see. So after, no, here's what we're going to do. Sorry. We're going to take this to the stove, and we're going to use a double boiler. I can't really remember that word. If you don't have a double boiler, just use a saucepan with 2 cups of water. You want that simmering but not touching the bowl. You get a heat-safe bowl put on top. We're going to melt the cream cheese in the butter. You have to whisk it the whole time. It's kind of like making pudding, or it's making custard. So you need to whisk it if you don't want it to burn. Then we're going to remove it from the heat, add some other ingredients, put it back on the heat, and then we'll come back and go from there.
But we'll walk you through step by step all the ingredients and the whisking and all of that over at the stove and where we take it off the heat and complete it.
Yep, so let's get going.
Place cream cheese and butter in a heat-proof bowl. Set bowl over a saucepan filled with 2 cups of simmering water. Don't have the water touch the bowl, and whisk constantly until the cheese and butter has melted. Take that bowl off the saucepan and whisk in sugar, cornstarch, egg, and yogurt one at a time, making sure each ingredient is incorporated before adding the next one. Then whisk in the lemon mixture and vanilla. Put the cream cheese mixture back over a saucepan and whisk for several minutes until the mixture thickens and sticks to a whisk. Remove bowl from heat, cover with plastic, and cool until room temperature.
All right, our custard mixture is now cool. It's at room temperature or a little bit below. We've had ours in the fridge. Our crusts are cooled and ready to be filled. So that's our next step, is just putting the mixture in the tarts. You can pipe that mixture in if you're a little less comfortable just spooning it in, but we think it's just as easy to spoon it in. And honestly, I make less of a mess that way.
Exactly, one less thing to clean up.
So you just want to kind of spoon it in here and just get you a good amount of filling. You don't really want to come up over the sides of your crust, but come up to the edge of your crust.
It's so pretty. Purple color.
I love the color. It's so cool.
And this is what your custard will kind of set up on its own. That's why you let it sit before you put it in the oven.
Yeah, and I have a thick, a little bit thicker than pudding consistency.
Oh, I'm so excited for the news.
Me too. Lemony and it's so good.
And it looks super impressive. And it's only, we added one extra ingredient, and it makes it look amazing.
Makes it super cute. You don't have artificial food color in here, but you get to have a really fun, unique looking dessert.
We all need more purple desserts in our life.
I could not possibly agree more.
You think that's okay, or should I put some more?
I like a lot of filling,
I do too.
so I say fill them up.
All right, and when these are all filled, they're going in the oven 425 for 8 minutes.
Just kind of keep an eye on them. You want them to start to brown a little bit, but you don't want them to get like brown. That kind of defeats the purpose of making them purple. So about 8 minutes. If your oven runs hot, you might be a little less than that. If your oven doesn't run as hot, then sometimes maybe 10 minutes. But
yeah, it's just one time it took me 10 minutes. Just don't go start a phone call or take a bath.
Don't forget about it.
Just kind of hang out.
All right, well, we're going to pop these in our oven, and we'll see you back soon to top them and taste them.
Taste them, woohoo!
All right, well, our tarts are done. I've just topped these off with a little bit of lemon peel and some of our dried butterfly flour. That is super optional, and I just thought it made it look nice and pretty.
It is beautiful. Very impressive.
Well, let's dig in.
Woo. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
Very good. That's so good. Woo! That lemon.
I got blue all over my face, but it's worth it. It's delicious.
I have no idea what's happening here, but I'm just going to keep going. Yeah, that is fantastic.
I really think the lemon and the butterfly pea flour, it just elevates it.
Yeah.
And you still can't have any. I'm sorry.
Not for beagles.
All right, well, we're going to enjoy the rest of these and keep this beagle out of them. All right, we did it.
so
We
much
raged.
fun. Oh, no.
Sorry.
We fed
Just
you.
be
You're not supposed to
tolerant.
rage now.
Well, that was fun. I loved everything.
I did too. Such good food. Such good food. I think we lived up to the food that is depicted on the show. That
I
always
did
looks
not.
so good.
I did not live up to holding chopsticks. I apologize for the ramen incident. I will practice more. They were very slippery chopsticks.
But they were. We had little Aggretsuko themed chopsticks, and they're cute as can be, but they are very slick chopsticks. So
I'm a
yeah.
noob, and it just wasn't working out. But I got there in the end. I used the spoon.
Yeah.
A little embarrassing.
It was fun though. It was fun and it was tasty. So I think then it's safe to say, given the ramen chopsticks incident, ramen probably isn't your pick for favorite this.
Well, Gus disagrees with me, but I'm just gonna have to go with the chicken. I love the ramen, but yeah, that chopsticks 1, Nora 0. So the chicken was so crunchy on the outside and just, juicy. I know that's a trigger word for some people, but that's what it was on the inside. That marinade.
It was, yeah. I mean,
delicious.
it was just, and I did not expect that much flavor from the marinade.
Yes.
Because like when I'm reading through recipes and I'm like, there's no flavor in this,
Yeah.
that marinade, but it really imparted
Yeah.
a lot. So.
And it wasn't greasy. It was just crunchy. It was delicious, and I'm glad I chose that. And I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this in the intro, but I chose that specifically because when the first episode and we got to see her raging out for the first time, she was singing "Choke on My Rage" when the waiter came in and stopped, and that's when I fell in love with her. So there's the story. There's the chicken.
Fried chicken and rage choking. Cool.
That was a juicy story.
Oh no!
Oh snap!
He's always got to try to offend people. It's great.
Subscribers going down now.
So I really liked the ramen myself. It was good. I thought the tofu was excellent. The spicy honey on it and
Honey, yeah.
worked really well. Tofu's not my favorite protein all the time, but it was good.
I really love the honey glaze on that. I think, to me, that's what really sets it apart and makes it. But I think for my pick this week, I'm going with the Liquid Rage, the After Hours Extra Ragey cocktail version.
Yeah, the Dory.
It was just, it was really good. It was sweet and decadent. I didn't feel like raging because it was really nice, actually. But
The opposite
I liked
effect.
it. I liked it a lot.
The tarts were cool. Like
The tarts, yeah.
The color of them is real fun.
Yeah.
One thing you can do with those tarts, if you have a lemon sitting around, which you probably do from making them, is if you drip lemon juice on them, the acid will react with that pea flour and turn it pink.
Yep, they can get pinker, but it's going to get more lemony.
So there's probably some way you can decorate to make it look cool. That
Yeah.
I just don't have the patience for.
Well, they're little tarts. It would be very
Yeah.
meticulous.
They're so impressive, and yeah, I definitely recommend.
If you guys make anything from this episode, if you do decide to do those tarts and get creative with the lemon juice and decorate them that way, we would love to see them.
Yes.
So put them up on socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere and everywhere. Use hashtag #BonAppeGeek. And you can also follow us to see what we're doing. Occasionally you get some sneak peeks of our next episode. What are our socials, Nora?
We are on them all. We are at AppeGeek Show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit, and sort of on TikTok. More to come. But yeah. We also have, if you'd like to buy us a coffee, we have that information down below. It would really help us out. Just pay for ingredients and just keep the show going.
Yeah, we don't get paid to do the show, so any coffee that you buy for us will go directly to cost of ingredients, technology, stuff we need just to run the show. You also can navigate to our website, www.bonappegeekshow.com. There we have a blog with all of our recipes on it, so you don't have to take notes while you're watching along with us.
And all those links are going to be listed in the description box below. And while you're there, hey, throw us a like. And if you enjoyed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are a new show, so it will help us out. And if you want to catch up on some of our previous shows, up in the eye above us, and I think it's here, I looked last time, you're going to have our last show, which was our Final Fantasy Greek-themed extravaganza. It was good fun. So click there, click down below, and I guess we've got something exciting coming up next?
We do. So our next episode, we're going to take a couple of weeks off, just have ourselves a little winter break, and we'll be back on February the 28th, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the Lord of the Rings movie trilogy coming out. We're kind of covering the whole Lord of the Rings universe, so we're not necessarily limiting ourselves to the movie trilogy, even though we're all celebrating its 20th anniversary.
And we'll have Stephen Colbert as a special guest.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
There's
Cool.
no association with
No,
No.
there should be a celebrity showing up to the show.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to clean the house a lot better. No, but seriously, we'd love to see you back on February 28th. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Until then,
Good one.
bye.
Bye.